I try this again. I've been having some interesting things happening with my Facebook Lives. Okay, I felt like I needed to hop on here. Let me know if you guys are jumping on. I'm going to wait a minute here. Let me know if you guys are jumping on and you're able to see me. Give me a heart, a like, something so that I know that you guys can see me and hear me. And let me know if you're watching this live or the replay. Yesterday, I did a Facebook Live closing out 2020, some key questions to ask yourself before you're stepping into more, setting new goals, doing new things. So it's like, this is the year. I'm really big on like releasing in order to receive, right? So many people, what I found of all the years that I've been in coaching, whether it was in the health space or the high performance space, is everybody's all gung-ho on just move forward, forge forward, I'm battle ready, let's go, let's make shit happen. And the reality is that if we don't pause to assess the lay of the land, right? If we don't pause to go, okay, let me take a beat and take a look at what has been showing up in my life, in my relationships, in my business, in my bank accounts, in my body, my health, to reflect back at me, what is my current temperature, my current state been? What am I still carrying or holding on to that gets to be released and let go, to lighten the load so that I can become a vessel to hold even more. What we do is we just move forward, and our cup is all so full, our body, our mind, our heart, everything is so jam-packed of all the old operating systems, the old identities, that there's no room for expansion to happen, right? It's like you're stuffed. I talked about that yesterday. So I wanted to jump on and do this video because I was doing my own practice of reflection. If you guys want to go back to yesterday's video, you can watch some of those questions I asked. But one of the first questions I asked was, if last year was a theme, if 2020 was like a theme, if there was a word of the year, or if you were to encapsulate and say, okay, this is what, like 2020 was the year of what for me, right? So for me, and I've heard all kinds of different things, but for me, 2020 was a year of like massive surrender, 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 surrender. The theme of 2020 for me was surrender, my love. Everything you thought you knew, everything you thought you were attached to, everything you thought you wanted, we're going to like take all that and we're going to reshape it, transform it. And it was a massive year for me anyways, of surrendering, just letting go and letting God lead me, letting my spirit tune in. And I was forced. And I know we were all forced in different ways. For some people I've heard, it was a year of calm. It was a year of gifts. It was a year of a shit show, somebody said to me, right? So we've all had our own different experiences with this. But for me, 2020 was a year of surrendering every single thing. And I never got this concept because for me, for so many years, I was always taught that like what I knew about surrender was like, surrender is like, no fucking way I'm surrendering, right? I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, I move forward, I always win. The competitive, hyper masculine energy that allowed me to be successful for so many years in competitive athletics, right? That was like, second place is first loser. That was my motto. No pain, no gain. That was my motto. Not in the recent years, but for many, many years, I was very proud of my ability to make shit happen and win in my life, in my body, in my business. Like, to not have things going my way was not a thing that I was okay with, right? And so I knew if I want something, how to make it happen. But this last year was the year of just, we're going to take all that stuff that you think you know and all of your methods for achieving and doing and hustling and making shit happen, from money to relationships to your body. We're just going to like rattle everything, shake it up, reorganize it, and restructure it so that you can move forward in a whole new way of being. And so I remember last year, January 2020, I was in Colorado. I'm about to go back, and I was laying in the snow on my knees in prayer when I asked, what is the word? What is my word of 2020? And I remember it loud as day. It came through. I could hear it. I felt it in every single cell of my body. The word back then was stillness. And I've shared that a lot. But I remember this word coming through and I was like in the snow and I was like, stillness? Oh, like, I don't, stillness is lame. Like, what does that even mean? Stillness. Okay. Like, I already meditated. I already prayed. I already took care of my body. I was doing the things. And little did I know, stillness was what would be required of me in order to be able to shed the old identities, to shed the old behaviors, to shed the old ways of communicating and talking, like the tone that I would use, the words, the judgments, all of that. Stillness, the ability to be able to sit still with myself. People are terrified of being able to sit still, of just having to sit still with themselves for any period of time. 5 minutes is viscerally uncomfortable for people. You talk about hours, days, like forget it, right? We're constantly needing stimulation. So, but stillness, what was required for me to step into in order for me to shed this without pain, without suffering, without having like massive discomfort. And I'm talking about like pain, because the the stuff that had to go in my life, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute, like everything happened this year that could have possibly happened. A lot of things happened, not everything. God, I had enough. um so as I just leaned into it, and I remember saying, okay, stillness it is. And so I started entering into this place of stillness, and it was so key, because one of the questions I ask everybody, I didn't ask this in yesterday's videos, where did you spend most of your time? What state? If you, there's lots of different words that people use for this. Some people say state, your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual state, like your nervous system state, your chemical state, your energetic state. You've also heard it as frequency or vibration. It's like you are emitting this vibe, right? What vibe, what state were you spending most of your year in? So question number one, I just talked about, was like, what was the theme of last year? For me, it was surrender, right? And my one word that sort of like was my guiding light is stillness, come back to that stillness. But the vibration, the emotion that I was holding in my body, the state that I got to hold to really step into last year was one of deep trust. Last year was where I had to cultivate trust in my body emotionally, physically, right? My electromagnetic field, like everything. So I oscillated, and maybe you oscillated too. So in order for me to go there, what happened was I spent a lot of time in a frequency, a state of uncertainty, ungrounded. And that often happens when we're making a quantum leap, when we are in the midst of a transformation, in the initiation, the rite of passage. Once we declare, I am leaving this old way behind and I am stepping into a new way. Like I am not going back. I am claiming that level of health for myself. I am losing this 30 pounds. I'm sick and tired of this, anxiety running through my body, my blood pressure being high. I'm sick and tired of this, boring, superficial relationship that we're operating, where we're coexisting in the house. When we claim, then what's going to happen is that, okay, we're going to be given the opportunity to step in. And so we kind of disconnect, we unplug from this old way of being. And then there's this like in between place where you're not in the new matrix, the new reality yet, right? The transformation hasn't fully happened, but you're definitely not in the old world anymore, right? You're just like, I'm not going there. And it feels really like, fuck, it feels unsteady, it feels ungrounded. So you can experience a lot of things like feeling disconnected, like disconnected from yourself, disconnected from your husband or wife, disconnected from friendships, because everything's sort of getting, uprooted. And a lot of people this year, a lot of people felt that, right? We felt that like, oh my God, I feel disconnected. Let me know if any of this is landing for you guys. If you're listening, if you can just like, comment, drop an emoji, it will help to get this video out. So I appreciate that if it lands for you. But we can feel disconnected. And so in that feeling of disconnection, you also feel disoriented, right? It's like I'm not there, but I'm not there. I'm sort of in this in-between phase that feels kind of like maybe you're running around in circles in a forest, right? You're just like, where am I? What's going on? Oh my gosh, I can't make sense of anything. And so because of this feeling of like being disoriented, being ungrounded at times, being unsettled. I mean, viscerally, that's what happens. Your physical body is having a response, right? It's like, oh my gosh, this is not familiar. This is not familiar. So it's like your roots have been lifted up and you're just like, oh. So at that point, you got to get really like anchored. So this year, as I felt that ungroundedness, I kind of, the pendulum swung from feeling ungrounded, unsettled, and there was a lot of moments to go, "Ah, where's my anchor? Where's my roots? Let me get grounded again. Let me get rooted in this, in the midst of this transformation, in the midst of this chaos. What is going to really ground me? What is going to really anchor me?" I had the beautiful experience of having my love Mark. Thank you, babe. Mark was such an amazing space for me this year, as and I'll talk about that later. He showed up for me, but I really had to go within and learn to trust. And it was a deep, deep trust, like trusting my body again. Trusting my body on a whole other level that I had never trusted it before. Like really tuning into what was my body telling me I needed, from food to how much rest to like where to go. Trusting, trusting, trusting the timing of things. Like, and I'm going to talk about my relationship with time, money, and energy in a minute. But trust had to be developed in the masculine and the feminine on a whole other level. There was so much trust that got to happen. And I really oscillated between these two things because it was a wild year. I closed my business of 10 years at the beginning when coronavirus hit. You guys, I owned a holistic health and wellness boutique. Those of you who know me, for 10 years. And it was interesting because the name of it was Push, right? And I knew that it was no longer in alignment, but after being in that I needed to make a transition, and my heart knew it was time to take the leap and either sell or move on or do something, but I wasn't quite sure how. I was so rooted, right? I was so rooted in those old ways. It was part of the community. It's what I had known for 10 years. Like, we'd helped hundreds, probably thousands of people by this point. I owned the commercial real estate that I just bought, and there was so much. And yet I could feel my soul going, okay, it's time to let that go. But I was like, but no, but I don't want to. Well, then COVID hit. We were forced to close down for 5 months, right? Where you can't serve people. Our income plummeted. So literally overnight, the value of my business dropped, like from $1 million to zero. Zero. And all of a sudden it's like, great, because it's a service-based business. So all these years that you've put into something, now it's worth nothing. And so I made a very difficult but aligned decision to close my business down and sell, right, the real estate. And so I had to walk away from so much that, my ego had said, like, but look at everything you've built. You can't just walk away from it, and all this stuff. And even through it, I had to keep trusting and trusting and trusting. And there's so much more I could talk about that process. I, had to walk away from the old identity, what everybody knew me as, what I was doing in my work, who I was serving, the type of income that was coming in, how the income was coming in, and shift everything, right? Everything with my body shifted. There was a year where all three of my children, all three, not one, but all three, I had a massive upgrade in the relationship with my kids. And there was about 3 months, again, I'll do another live on this at some point, where none of my kids would speak to me. I have 3 teenagers. And it was like a dark night of the soul, like I've never experienced. You talk about surrender, like everything about me like mentally could not understand what was happening. And yet I had to fall into this deep trust. So and trust that my kids were working through what they needed to work through, that God was shaping me, refining me like a fine diamond. He was increasing my capacity to hold even more love, to be even more unconditionally loving, to accept even more, to be understanding on a level that I could never experience, because the old me was pissed and angry and confused and was like, God, what is going on? And yet I knew that it was all happening perfectly on purpose for a purpose. And right now, today, all the kids are back home, they're here, and the dynamic of our relationship has completely shifted because there was so much old residue. And we're still in the process of healing a lot of things, but there was so much of the old ways of intolerance, of judgment, of criticism, of very fixed views around how things had to look and how people had to operate and how they had to show up for each other, that there was so much intolerance in our household that we were blind to. I was blind to. See, when you're blind, you can't see it. But when you're on the other side of it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's how we used to run our house. That's how our relationship, that was the vibe of our relationship. So the minute I decided peace gets to be the vibration of my home, understanding unconditional love, well, I got the opportunity to be able to hold capacity for that by going through this very turbulent time with not one, but all three of my children were basically like rejected me. And I'm not saying this like I love, love, love the kids. And there was things that they were angry at me for and whatever that they didn't understand and I didn't understand. So it was a time of really cultivating a whole new level of communication, understanding, connection, love, patience. I mean, so many gifts that got unlocked through that trial. And yet it's a thing that every parent is like, oh my God, I don't ever want to have like a hiccup with my kids. I don't want that to go wrong, right? It was a year of me, like every single thing about not only my studio did I shut that down, but my high performance coaching business, which was the aligned experience. God's like, yep, that too. That you're going to throw that out. All the old content, the material and stuff like that, we're going to change that all up. You're going to do this warriors of the heart thing. And this is what you're going to do. And I was like, oh, like it was just like one thing after the other, after the other. And so deep trust. But the reason I'm sharing this is that as we're going through this viscerally in your cells, I could feel like my body was buzzing. My body was buzzing, going like, oh my God, now my kids, oh my God, now this, now that, my business, oh my gosh, now like everything, right? My body was so buzzing. And I remember laying there at night and I could feel like my body buzzing. And yet my heart was calm. My heart was like at peace. And it was this really interesting thing that was going on, right? As I was going through this process of surrender, where viscerally I was so uncomfortable and yet wildly at peace at the same time. And this is what I mean when I say like surrender. Surrender doesn't have to be painful in the sense of like we don't have to go kicking and screaming and fighting and have all this physical pain in our body because we're resisting all of the change that's happening as we're shedding. Because as you're shedding all layers, you're literally shedding your DNA, your cellular memory, everything is changing. Your body is what has held on to all this stuff, not only for your lifetime, my lifetime, but generations before that we have picked up and carried on from our parents, from my mother, my father, right? Grandparents. So if you can deeply relax into this space, that's the stillness. The stillness, if I can deeply relax and develop a whole new level of trust in this process of surrender, stillness was what was required in order for me to be able to hold the frequency of trust. So I'm sharing this with you because as you reflect back and you say, okay, well, what was last year? What was the theme of last year for me? Right? What was the theme? What frequency was I really holding? What was required of me in order to like move through that? Right? Was I oscillating between these two polar opposites to find some sort of equilibrium or new space in the middle that would allow me to be where I am today, to open up even more? Because as we look forward to 2021, I'm asking myself the question, it's like, okay, 2021 is the year of richness for me. Richness in everything, like delicious, right? Like everything gets to be like yum, delicious. Rich life, rich relationships, rich body, rich in finances, rich in my spirit being wide open to receive God's guidance and wisdom, rich in the clients that I'm working with and the work that is happening within their life. And in order for me to do that, the energy, the frequency that I'm feeling called to hold is one of pure, excited delight, like a child that's like, oh my gosh, eyes wide open and wonder, like, oh my God, that's so exciting. That's so delicious. Look at that. Look at that. It's like this deep celebration, this deep appreciation that's like pure, innocent excitement. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of going back and forth to help break down what I was sharing yesterday on a deeper level. So whenever I got plunged into this feeling of disconnection, disoriented, doubting myself, I had to anchor myself back in the stillness and back into the trust. And now I got to open a whole new level of capacity. Like it's like my container exploded for the amount of love I'm able to hold, the amount of understanding I'm able to hold, the amount of safety, psychological safety I'm able to hold for my kids, for myself, for my clients. Because as I was being called to step into deeper work, there's some big stuff that's coming up as I'm working with my clients. And there has to be a safe space where people can really allow this stuff to come out, where there's a container that they know that they're safe, that they're held, and someone can hold that space. That's rare. So that was what was required of me to be able to serve in my next capacity. So this trust, and I took notes that I wanted to share. That's why I'm kind of ping-ponging back and forth. But this trust allowed me to forge a completely new relationship with the divine masculine and the feminine. And later today, this afternoon, I'm doing a 2-hour training on embodying, like moving out of the masculine and feminine wounds, the wounded masculine, the wounded feminine, and starting to embody the wholeness of the sacred union of the masculine and feminine together. But what happened within myself was I got to release a lot of that hyper masculine wounded energy and trust, in the masculine to come back in and really support me. So the masculine meaning that God essence inside of me that was working through me, where God is able to say, hey, you are my beloved, you are my daughter, you are the daughter of the King of Kings, right? You are my queen. Let me hold you. Let me support you. Let me protect you. Let me create structure for you. If you would just trust me and allow me to give to you, just watch out. Stop striving so much, my love. Stop pushing me away. Allow me to lead you. And as I allowed the masculine to really show up for me, as I allowed God to show up for me, my relationship with how I work, how I treat my body, my relationship with my partner, my relationship as a mother started to flourish. And also my relationship with the feminine, because I got to soften and relax, right? I got to soften and relax in the knowing that I am fully supported, that I am fully protected, that I don't need to strive and never arrive, right? That I can have some structure so that I can allow the flow to just happen and be tuned into my natural rhythms. So it was this beautiful union of the masculine and the feminine within me, where there was balance, equilibrium again. This word equilibrium keeps coming through. But it was the trust that allowed me to find that, right? I got to trust the masculine, I got to trust the feminine, and allow them to sort of dance together. So what actually shifted in my outer world? Again, I'm sharing this story of massive surrender, stillness, moving into trust, because it was my journey over the last year. And what actually shifted in my outer world was a completely different paradigm, a completely different relationship with time, money, energy, men, women. Like time, before I would get up and I would just remember having this like anxious feeling in my gut. Like, oh my gosh, I would wake up with sort of this like anxious, like I got to do something. I'm already behind. Like there's more work to be done, or like I'm missing something, I'm missing out on something. And I ended up spending a month in Sedona. I remember kind of at the start of COVID. I remember spending a month in Sedona. By this time, it was like everything had just hit me. The business had been shut down. The kids didn't want to talk to me. I wasn't sure how I was going to keep the doors open, pay the mortgage, like on the building and stuff. And I just got led to go to Sedona. Mark was with me for a while. And I remember being there, and literally all I had the energy to do, you guys, was like sleep, like copious amounts of sleep, hike. I would hike for 3 to 4 hours a day. I would rest. I would create some content, work with my clients, but really I just rested and nourished and nourished. And it was during that time, the reason I'm saying time, I just like fully surrendered. Anything that my brain wanted to do, my body was like, you're not doing that. Like you just get to like sleep, rest, do your thing, be the channel. That's it. And I was like, oh my God, I have so much to do. But didn't have a choice. I fully surrendered. And that was the time where like my income doubled. I think I had my biggest months of income during that month or two where I was literally like stopped everything. Like I was like, I'm not even working. I'm just like gonna say fuck it. It was like fuck it energy. Fuck it. I'm just like sleeping. I'm going into a cave. I'm shutting down. And because I was like, I have nothing to do with this. I literally was like, I was following divine inspiration, but I was fully leaning into like, okay, I'm going to lay here and I'm going to sleep. I'm going to recover. I'm going to nourish my body. And I'm going to speak only when I'm feeling the call to speak, to put something out, to invite someone. Literally, it was like little tiny voice notes that I sent out here and there every once in a while. And those were the months where the money came in. And financially, I became so fully supported in those 3 months. I'm not going to put the number out, but it was an incredible amount that came in to be able to support me for literally like, months ahead. And it all came from me redefining my relationship with time and energy. So from that moment on, what happened is my work schedule actually went from being a full schedule to now I work from 12 to 4:30 with clients, and not every day. So I'm talking about 4 hours a day-ish. 4:30, and I remember my kids the other day saying, "Mom, you like don't even work." And I was like, "But I do. I do work, but I have a different relationship with time. And when I show up for my clients, I'm all in, because the rest of the time, the rest of my time is sacred for me to be in my practices, right? Of cultivating this vibrant body, cultivating my spirit, spending time in meditation and working out and walks and writing and creating content, so that when I show up to do my work with my people, I am fully present. I'm not distracted because I'm trying to jam sessions back to back, or I'm trying to create content. I am fully, like, everything about me is fully here, fully present, right? And that is a rare thing, because I work with other coaches and other owners and executives, and they're just like, their schedule is so full and they're trying to cram these calls between other appointments. And it's like they don't have any buffer. And one of the first things we do is we start to create space, because space opens up capacity, right? So now all of a sudden there's so much capacity because there's so much space, right? So the inspiration flows through, like flow state. It comes when there's space, spaciousness. So I completely realized and realigned my relationship with time. And I realized time is a tool. Time works for me, not against me. I have all the time I need to do all the work that matters. When I'm precise, when I'm focused, when I'm present, one word can shift everything, right? The right word, the right thing at the right time, just timing is everything. This isn't about cramming a bunch of stuff into an imaginary illusion of fixed time, because time just is. Time just is. Time is a tool that works for me, not against me. I am the master. Time is not the master, right? I am the master of my time. It's my time. Time is a resource. So when people say to me, I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do this yearly reflection. I'm like, are you telling me you're a slave to your tool? You're a slave to the resource? Time is a resource. It's the construct of our human mind. We created it as a measuring stick. So, because the ego needs things to measure, just like money is a measurement tool, right? But these are tools, these are resources. Money works for me, not against me. Money is always flowing, and I know how to multiply money, how to use money, how to allow money to flow, right? I create structure so money is flowing for me. I use my tools. Time is a tool. I'm not a slave to my tools. I'm the master of my tools. And what happens when the tools kind of stop working, or, it's like when a hammer stops working, or a tool isn't the right tool anymore, we upgrade the tools. We go up level our skills. We go up level our mastery in those areas. We learn different ways to use the tools. Okay, how else can I use time? How else do I want to leverage, multiply time, leverage and multiply money? How else am I being called to leverage and multiply, anything that's a resource? But we become slaves to the resources, and then we're being used as the tool. Your body is a tool. Your body, this physical vessel, is this incredible tool, vessel to channel flow. Literally, I want you to think of this like this physical body is structure, right? There's physical structure here. My brain has physical structure, so does yours. It's up to us how much clarity we allow in our brain. If the structure is clean, it's clear, it's clean of inflammation, right? It's clear of toxicity in its system. Energy, information, consciousness can flow through us. There's so much more clarity. It's like your eyes are open, your ears are open. You can feel everything. Your spidey senses are turned on, and your capacity all of a sudden just like blows up, because the tool that is your body, yes, you are honoring and respecting the tool, you're treating it well, but you realize my body works for me, not against me. Therefore, I make sure that I keep this vessel clean, clear. You take care of your tools so they work for you. And in doing so, I just allow more and more and more flow to happen. Your body's where you get to experience life, which is so beautiful. So, things that shifted in my outer world, I mentioned my relationship with time shifted. I started working half the time and opened up half my schedule purely for devotion to my practices, to what excited me, everything from dance to study to hiking to walking to, creating courses to investigating new ways to use my tools. But that was like, oh my God, the skies open up. I never knew that was a thing. I thought like, no, you have to cram that stuff in before and after, right? What happened is I reorganized my relationship with money, and money started to show up for me unexpectedly. Property started to show up for me. Money, investments started to show up for me that required zero of my personal dollars. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, oh, there's 20K. Oh, where did that come from, right? It's just like money showed up because my body, my tools, I was ready to receive. I had opened up capacity. So all of a sudden when that opportunity showed up, I was able to say, I saw it. The other day I did a post about opportunity, right? It's like a beautiful woman and she comes and it's like, I see her. Will I say yes or will I allow her to move on? When these opportunities showed up and presented themselves to me because I was open, I saw them and all I had to do was say yes. I say yes. And all of a sudden it's like poof, 20K shows up out of nothing, right? All of a sudden, boom, this property shows up, this 2-acre property that we bought in North Carolina shows up literally within days. And it was like so easy, so effortless. It was like seamless. I'm in the process of the sale of my studio. It's so easy and seamless. It's taken like zero of my energy, because I just let it go. And I was like, it's going to be easy. It's going to be fluid. And so here we are in the process. And it's like, I just feel so comfortable about it. The other thing that really shifted for me was my relationship with my body and my energy. And I want to finish by saying this because I think this is so key. So many people that I work with in the beginning are feeling really restless and uneasy in their body. Viscerally uncomfortable. Like there's just chronic like unease, dis-ease in the body. And you can't quite put your finger on it. Sometimes we label it as anxiety, sometimes we label it as whatever, But as I leaned into this massive trust, massive surrender, that meant trusting my body on a whole other level. For years and years and years, I was like, oh, 5 a.m. club, 6 a.m., whatever. Like I haven't used an alarm clock for months. I can't remember the last time I set an alarm. I allow my body to fully wake up when it's fully rested, when I change the way that I work out. This is the first time, by the way, you guys, I've been in health and wellness space for 20 years, okay, of holistic health coaching, nutrition, lifestyle experience as a health practitioner. So I've done a lot of work with the body, I know about supplements. I know about nutrition. I'm an integrative nutritionist. Like I get it. And still going through this transition was like a whole new level of capacity open up in my physical body where my body feels so fluid. There's no tension anywhere. Like everything is just relaxed and smooth. I'm supple, like the supple leopard, like I'm supple, I'm rested, I'm relaxed in my body. I feel so freaking beautiful in my body. And this is the thing, is like your body does not need to be rigid and tense and tight where you can't, you constantly feel like you're wearing all this armor. That's not our state. Again, as I speak to warriors, because as warriors, we're always pushing, hustling, going, and our physical bodies often look like and feel like armor. Like you're so rigid and tense, right? Like your jaw's locked up, your shoulders are locked up, your back's locked up, and you're just like a brick walking around. And then you try to work out and you're like, oh, what's going on with my knee? Oh my God, I got this rotator cuff issue, because you're literally like trying to move with all this physical armor, your muscles being tensed up, rigid, your spine being locked in many places, right? There's no space, there's no place for flow to really happen in your body. So when you make this quantum leap and you redefine your relationship with your physical body, the physical vessel that you carry around, and you start to optimize and work with your body to create extreme clarity, extreme clean vessel, right? Literally like tuning into your body's intelligence of what it wants you to eat, how it wants you to move, how it wants you to rest. And you start to let your body work for you, and you work with your body instead of against it. Like, boom, you feel so rested, you feel so relaxed. It's like the armor just falls off. The armor just falls off. And you're just like, oh my God, like where did all that freedom come from? Does this land for you guys? Like, could you imagine what it feels like to just feel completely free in your body, completely rested when you wake up? When you want to move, if you want to run, your body says, yeah, I feel amazing running. And then if your body wants to stretch, you're like, yeah, I feel amazing stretching. And you can do that without guilt, without feeling like I should be doing something else, because you're so dialed in. I'm telling you, it feels awesome. So I want to wrap up. I know I've kind of been all over the place, but these were all linked. They're like all little puzzle pieces, because I wanted to share for you what opened up for me. Literally, the way I work, who I work with, how I work, completely transformed. It required all the shedding of the old timelines, my old scheduling, how I did my scheduling, how I structured my day, how I thought productivity should look like. It required me to just let go of all of that and be wildly open to receiving something completely new that was totally in alignment, that absolutely works for me, not against me. And it's awesome. I got to release all of these old ideas about how much of my time and energy was required in order for money to flow into my life, and just trust that I would be fully, fully supported when I allowed myself to come into true alignment. And so it is. This was the year where I hired 2 more mentors in a time where most people were hoarding toilet paper. I decided at the start of COVID that I would hire a mentor that I've been wanting to work with for a long time. And most recently, I did it again. And at the times where the head is like, it just doesn't make sense to hire a mentor right now, I'm like, hell yes, this is the time to hire a mentor. So I invested in myself. I shifted my relationship with money. And now I'm allowing money to just be working for me, and without having to always have a transaction happening. And the most beautiful thing is my relationships, the dynamic of my relationships. There's a whole new level of trust, a whole new level of intimacy, a whole new level of connection, a whole new level of just acceptance. I think acceptance is the word that has opened up, where people feel safe, psychologically safe, emotionally safe, physically safe, to be together and know that they are seen, they are loved, they are wanted. I am seen, I am loved, I'm wanted. This happens when you allow yourself to release the old ideas of how relationships got to go, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a husband or a wife, and really lean into back to our natural design as divine masculine, as divine feminine, for this sacred union to happen inside our bodies. So, that's a lot of stuff. And so here I am with my container wide open, heading into 2021. And only now, having undergone this, can I say, yes, I'm ready for like the richness, a whole new level of richness to enter my life. But it required me to release and let go, right? And in order for me to step into more richness, I get to say, what does it get to be the temperature the frequency that I'm going to use as my guiding light in my physical body, that I'm going to train myself to be into, to be in my body, so that this richness can unfold even more around me. I can experience it, and I can let it flow out of me into my clients, into my people, into my children, into the world, right? Because as you raise your vibration, you shift the collective. So I just want to wrap you up. I wanted to do a little bit in depth on a follow-up from yesterday, because I asked you a lot of questions yesterday. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to go back. 4 key questions to ask yourself before you head into 2021. I unpacked what came up for me as I was doing my reflection on what was 2020 about, what was the gifts that unlocked for me, and how am I poised to head into 2021? What do I want this year to be about? And lastly, I've talked about it a lot, but if this is really landing for you and you're like, man, Christine, I would love to experience this kind of freedom in my body that you talk about, this rest in my schedule, this ease in my body. I would love to experience a whole new level of intimacy with my wife, my partner, that just I've been chasing and hustling to get for years, but it just hasn't been there. If you are ready to experience a whole new level of trusting your inner wisdom, your inner guidance, your inner GPS to start to lead you and open doors, open opportunities for you, and really restructure the way you're leading, that's what it means to lead from 5D consciousness, from the power of the heart instead of the intellect. I believe we're at this time, it's a great divide, where we have to leave the old wounded masculine energy behind, the old forcing, pushing, hustling, doing, and allow ourselves to come back to the power of the heart, and allow ourselves to be led by the heart, by the spirit, and get into full alignment with our lives. I'm starting the journey back to the heart. The 6-month mastermind is a roundtable initiation. There's going to be, 12 maybe people in this container, warriors who are ready to really rise, like really to leave all those old battle identities, battle strategies, hustling, exhaustion, fighting, resistance behind, and realize that to be a warrior of the heart opens up whole other dimensions for us. To be a warrior of the heart means we have a mission that is burning so strong in our heart, that the conviction is so strong and the mind is so clear. We know exactly who we are, what we're doing, what we're here to do. That's what the warrior of the heart initiation is about. It's about getting back to your heart, connecting with your divine gifts, unlocking those gifts so you know and you are connected to your purpose, and that you allow yourselves to step into the richness of life that is waiting for you in your relationships, in your physical body, in your finances, and really, this is like the delicious adventure of life. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm about. That's what I'm being called to do. If this is of interest of you, send me a DM. I'll send you the details and an invitation if it's appropriate. If not, I can direct you in another way. Finally, if you guys are listening to this, please let me know what landed for you. Let me know that you're here. Say hello. I'd love to know what really lands for you. I hope this was beneficial and helpful. Sending you lots of love. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.